The movie is set on October 30th, 1969. It opens with two boys happily pedaling their bicycles through the enchanting woods of Berkeley Cove, North Carolina. However, their innocent adventure takes a horrifying turn when they stumble upon the lifeless body of a young man next to a tall tower. They inform the authorities, and soon, Sheriff Jackson and his assistant arrive at the distressing scene. Sheriff Jackson recognizes the victim as Chase Andrews, a popular quarterback who is loved by everyone. However, the strange thing is that there are no fingerprints or any footprints at the scene. The two then suspect that Chase could have fallen from the tower, so they go to the top and start investigating. To their surprise, they find an open gate, which further indicates that the poor boy fell from it. However, the sheriff isn't completely convinced. Some days later, the autopsy reports for Chase finally arrive. The doctor discloses that the cause of death was a sudden impact from the fall. It is also revealed that Chase's injuries do not align with his body's position upon landing. To make matters more confusing, the doctor reports that he found red fibers on Chase's jacket. All of this leads the sheriff to conclude that the incident was a murder, not an accident. In the next scene, the news about the murder spreads like wildfire, and the town dwellers begin to speculate who could have committed such a heinous act. Some suspect that a young woman named Catherine Kaya Clark could be responsible for the murder. Acting upon these rumors, the sheriff and his assistant decide to pay Catherine a visit to her home. Once they reach the premises, they fail to locate her, but they discover a red cap, which they believe may be connected to the fibers found on Chase's jacket. Unbeknownst to them, Catherine is hiding in the nearby woods, and she exhales a sigh of relief as the officers depart. However, Sheriff Jackson is not going to give up so easily, so he and his patrol team embark on a search through the swamp. Their hard work finally pays off when they spot Catherine in the woods and catch her while trying to escape. As she is taken to prison, the town dwellers curse her and hurl epithets at her. At the police station, Catherine is visited by a lawyer named Tom Milton, who offers to defend her in court. However, she remains silent as Tom emphasizes the gravity of her case and the upcoming judgment she will face. He tells her that in order for him to effectively assist her, he needs to understand more about Catherine's true identity. The scared girl doesn't respond to any of his questions and simply stays silent. But as he prepares to depart, she finally speaks. The movie then cuts to 1953, when Catherine used to live with her mother, her older siblings, and their abusive father. One night, the mother gets so fed up with the abuse that she abandons her family and leaves the house. Catherine runs after her, but the woman doesn't look back. As time passes by, Catherine's siblings also begin to leave one by one. Her youngest brother is the last to leave, and in their final meeting, he tells her to run into the marsh if she gets into trouble. Now that Catherine is left with only her father, her life becomes monotonous and boring. That is until she befriends a boy named Tate, who goes on to become the only source of joy in her life. One day, Catherine's father takes her to the town to get some supplies. They stop by a store, which is owned by a kind and sweet couple, James and Mabel. The latter loves children, and when she finds out that Catherine isn't studying, she gives her new clothes and gets her enrolled in a local school. This excites the little girl, and she dances her way to school the next day. However, her happiness doesn't last long, as all the other students ridicule her because of her background. As a result, Catherine feels humiliated and vows to never go to school. This incident makes her cut ties with the outer world, bringing her closer to her father. She begins spending more time with him and learns how to fish. For the first time, the arrogant man also starts treating her with kindness. However, it all changes one day when Catherine receives a letter from her mother. Seeing her excited, the man loses his temper and burns down the letter, screaming that her mother will never return. He also destroys all tangible reminders of her mother before wandering into the woods. Several weeks pass by, but he doesn't return, and one morning, it finally dawns on Catherine that she is left all alone in this world. She initially tries to get food for herself, but it proves to be an extremely difficult task. So, left with no choice, Catherine turns to the sweet couple from earlier, and they start helping her in every way possible. The movie then cuts back to the present. Catherine appears in court, where she is met with hostility, as most of the town is convinced she is responsible for Chase's murder. Despite this, she maintains her innocence, claiming that she wasn't with Chase when he died. She also asserts that they are unfairly treating her without proper investigation. However, Tom urges Catherine to make a false statement. He wants her to say that she was with Chase at the tower, but they had an argument, and he accidentally fell from the open gate. Tom believes that this admission could reduce the sentence to 6 years. However, Catherine is unwilling to fabricate a story under oath. She is confident that Chase's family lawyer can't prove her guilty because there is no compelling evidence to frame her. Following this, the movie again flashes back to the past. It's the year 1962, and Catherine was 17 years old. While hanging out with Tate one day, she expresses interest in learning how to read and write, so Tate starts giving her lessons at her home. This helps her tremendously, and she develops a keen interest in drawing and writing. One day, a man from the social services shows up. He wants to take Catherine and put her in a home where she will feel loved and welcomed. However, our protagonist girl doesn't want this. She wants to continue living in the marsh, as it is very precious to her. As time passes by, Catherine and Tate's bond grows stronger. One day, they declare their love for each other and make their relationship official. However, as they make love, Tate has second thoughts as he fears that he might end up hurting her, so he quickly backs away and leaves without saying a word. Several days later, he returns to announce that he has been accepted into a college and that he'll be going away for 4 years. This naturally upsets Catherine, and she requests him to stay. However, Tate tells her that he has big aspirations in life and he doesn't want to remain chained to a small town. Upset, Catherine runs away with tears in her eyes. The only person who has loved her and made her feel wanted is going away from her. Tate is also deeply affected, as this decision was not an easy one for him. So to say his final goodbyes, he shows up at her door that night. The two immediately reconcile and spend the night together, talking about all the memories they had. When it's finally time to leave, Tate presents Catherine with a list of publishers to whom she can submit her drawings and notes. He firmly believes that her artistic creations deserve to be published. However, Catherine's heart is heavy with sadness, fearing that Tate will forget about her once he becomes busy in college. In response, he reassures her that he will never forget her and promises to meet her on the 4th of July. Left alone once more, Catherine fills her time by immersing herself in drawing. Soon, the 4th of July approaches, and she eagerly waits to reunite with him. She waits for him at the bench, but as the day unfolds, Tate fails to appear. This devastated Catherine so much that she has a mental breakdown. In the present, during the court proceedings, Sheriff Jackson testifies and explains that there are no traces or evidence near the tower or on Chase's body. This absence of evidence suggests that someone had intentionally destroyed or removed it. However, Catherine's lawyer steps in to defend her, arguing that the lack of traces could be attributed to the effects of high tide, which could have washed away any potential evidence. Furthermore, he presents a copy of a petition written by Sheriff Jackson himself to the Forest Department a year prior, highlighting concerns about the broken gate and its potential to cause severe injury or even death. The scene again cuts back to the past. It is 1968. Catherine is at the beach, where she encounters Chase for the very first time. He is a handsome young man who is apparently the heartthrob of every girl in town. Later that evening, Catherine spots a developer capturing images of her house. Concerned, she talks to Mabel and gets to know that the developers are planning to acquire land for hotel construction. In fact, the demolition work will begin in a month's time. Hearing this, a worried Catherine rushes to the local government office, where she asserts that the property belongs to her. She is proven right, but the official tells her that she must pay an $800 tax in order to claim ownership. This leaves Catherine in a perilous position, as she has no money at the moment. So, left with no choice, she finally sends her work to the publishers from the list. During this time, she also starts a friendship with Chase, and they go on a date. As the days pass, they get into a full-blown relationship and spend much of their time together. One day, Catherine gets a positive response from one of the publishers, and she soon signs a contract. She shares the news with Chase happily, and to her delight, he gives her even better news. Chase proposes marriage to Catherine, promising to always be by her side. As expected, the excited girl instantly says yes, as she has been waiting for this moment all her life. She also presents him with a seashell necklace as a gift. In the present, Chase's mother reveals that the necklace was not found on his body at the time of his demise, even though he continued to wear it even after their breakup. Back in the past, Tate finally returns from college one day, excited to meet the love of his life. However, when he spots Catherine with Chase, he is heartbroken. He shows up at her house later, begging her to take him back, but Catherine simply asks him to go away. The following day, she shockingly encounters Chase with another woman, who turns out to be his secret fiancée. This shatters Catherine, and she immediately ends her relationship with him. Some days later, she finally receives a copy of the book she had written, along with a check from the publisher. Thanks to this, Catherine manages to clear the outstanding tax on her house and utilizes some of the money to renovate it. One day, Jody, her younger brother, unexpectedly returns, and it's revealing that after running away from home, he had joined the army. He found out about Catherine after coming across her book. Jody also reveals that their mother made attempts to reclaim custody, but their abusive father threatened her with violence. Sadly, she passed away due to leukemia a few years back. One day, Chase again tries to get back with Catherine. He tries to force himself on her, but she fights back and warns that she will kill him if he again tries to touch her. Catherine then returns home and reflects on the hardships her mother must have endured. To lighten her mood, she boards her boat and sets out on the water. However, The following morning, Catherine notices Chase departing from her residence. Upon inspecting, she finds her home completely ransacked. In the present, Catherine claims that, despite the incident, she maintained her composure and boarded a bus to Greenville to meet with the publishers. And while she was away, Chase fell from the tower and passed away. Soon, the publishers also arrive at the court and testify that she is telling the truth. However, Chase's family lawyer presents evidence suggesting that Catherine stayed at a hotel near the bus station, so she must have taken an overnight bus trip to commit the crime. He is certain that she is hiding things. In response, Catherine's lawyer defends her by highlighting that it is nearly impossible to travel back and forth between the cities and commit the crime without being seen or leaving any evidence. He urges the jury to base the decision on the facts presented. By this time, most of the people have started believing in Catherine's story, making her hopeful. The adorable couple from earlier, Tate and Jody, also arrive to express their support. In the next scene, the jury finally delivers a verdict after hours of deliberation. Catherine is not guilty. Following the incident, she reconciles with Tate and the two eventually get married. Catherine goes on to become a prolific writer, and she spends most of her remaining years in the marsh with Tate, growing old together. One day, she dies of old age, and in her final moments, she envisions her mother's spirit approaching, signifying their reunion. Some days later, as Tate sifts through Catherine's belongings, he discovers a book containing a poem that says, "Sometimes, for the prey to live, the predator must die." Furthermore, Tate finds a drawing of Chase, the seashell necklace that had gone missing, and bloodstains on it. With this, it dawns on him that Catherine was the one who killed Chase. However, to preserve her untarnished legacy, Tate throws the seashell into the marsh, bringing the movie to an end.